1998 was truly an incredible year. In the world of anime, Pokémon would debut in the West, helping launch a global phenomenon and the anime boom of the late 90s. In the world of professional wrestling, Stone Cold Steve Austin would become world champion and lead the WWF into one of its greatest eras ever, while the world of gaming would give us several timeless classics. Join us now as we look back at arguably the greatest year in the history of gaming. This is 1998. The Academy of Interactive Arts and Science hosts its first Interactive Achievement Awards. Shigeru Miyamoto of Nintendo would be the inaugural inductee into the AIAS Hall of Fame. The ESRB changes the K to A, or Kids to Adults rating, to E for everyone. Sega announces the discontinuation of the Sega Saturn in North America to prepare for the launch of its successor, the Dreamcast. The 4th annual E3 is held in Atlanta, Georgia. Following the show, the inaugural Game Critics Awards was held, with winners being titled Best of E3. Funkoland would open its 300th location in Nashville, Tennessee, and Take-Two Interactive forms the legendary Rockstar Games label. The Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time would be released for the N64, receiving 7 Game of the Year awards, be the highest growing Game of the Year, ranking in $150 million in revenue, and to this day hold the accolade of the greatest video game of all time. In addition to this, both the red and blue versions of Pokémon would be released in America, becoming the best-selling games of the year, with over 7.2 million copies sold worldwide, and breathing new life into the declining Game Boy, with each version containing a number of exclusive creatures. It wasn't all peaches and cream for Nintendo, as Sony had become literally untouchable, as sales of the PlayStation nearly doubled that of the Game Boy Color and nearly tripled that of the N64, with a whopping 22.5 million more units sold worldwide. On the business front of things, Eidos Interactive would acquire Crystal Dynamics, EA would acquire Virgin Interactive, the Atari Corporation files for bankruptcy and its assets are acquired by Hasbro, and Square and Electronic Arts forms Square Electronic Arts to publish a wealth of Square titles in the US. Other releases included F-Zero X, Marvel vs. Capcom, Metal Gear Solid, Resident Evil 2, Street Fighter Alpha 3, The House of the Dead 2, Tomb Raider 3, Banjo-Kazooie, Gex Enter the Gecko, Half-Life, Medieval, Parasite Eve, Radiant Silvergun, Spyro the Dragon, Starcraft, and Xenogears. Man, Ocarina of Time is the greatest game ever because even though it was 64-bit graphics, it still looks good to this day. The soundtrack's amazing, the Z-targeting combat mechanics were a total game changer, and it has one of the best stories in a video game. Super Mario 64 may have changed the face of the gaming, but Ocarina of Time perfected it. Pokemon Red and Blue on the Game Boy single-handedly revitalized the handheld. Me and my friends back in the day would just spend all afternoon trading out Pokemons back and forth to fill out Pokedexes. I mean, there was so many ways to get replay value from the game, it was insane. Marvel vs. Capcom was the end result of a series of Capcom's versus fighting games with a Marvel license. It was a lot more accessible to people who aren't good at fighters, and the guest character summoning mechanic was a lot of fun. Metal Gear Solid virtually invented the stealth genre, but more importantly, it was one of the first true cinematic video games. It contained top-notch voice acting, and even broke the fourth wall in a way never done before. Metal Gear Solid's cinematic style would become a staple of the series and help tell one of the most dramatic stories in gaming. Starcraft reinvented the RTS genre and is basically responsible for building the current esports platform. The game is literally a national sport in South Korea. Me and my buddy Kim Jong-un would attend some of the games. We would host LAN parties during the pandemic. Vote for me, I'm gonna make video games great again. I love Banjo-Kazooie! In addition to Ocarina of Time, it's another platformer that took the N64 to its limit. The world was massive and it had a colorful cast of characters that had clever and quirky humor. Collecting and hunting items was a blast, and there was always new abilities to unlock in order to progress further in the game. Well guys, there you have it. 1998 was the greatest year in the history of video games. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and we'll see you next time when we explore the final year of the 90s, 1999. Later.